I grew up in Seattle, a city known for its constant drizzle, coffee shops on every corner, and the kind of gray skies that make people reflective. My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my 29 years, I've been the sort of person who carries secrets like other people carry umbrellas, always folded up inside me, waiting for the right moment to open. This story isn't about scandal or forbidden love. It's about friendship, choices, misunderstandings, and the kind of regret that makes you question how small moments can change everything. It all began one autumn evening when I moved into a new apartment building near Capitol Hill. The place was buzzing with life, and yet I felt strangely alone. I had just ended a 3-year relationship with Ryan, a kind but distant man whose heart was always more in his work than with me. The breakup was mutual, but I carried the heavy silence of it in my chest. My new neighbor was Daniel Hayes, a 32-year-old freelance writer from Chicago who had recently moved to Seattle to work on a book. He had that calm, observant presence, like he saw through the noise of the world. Our first encounter happened in the most ordinary way. I had locked myself out of my apartment carrying a bag of groceries, and Daniel, hearing the rattling of bags in the hallway, came out and offered me a hand. "Locked out?" he asked, his voice light with amusement. I laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, I guess the door didn't like me today." He smiled and offered me a seat in his apartment until the landlord arrived. That evening, we shared cups of tea and stories about where we came from. Daniel told me about his book project, a collection of true stories from strangers he had met while traveling. I told him something I rarely admitted to people. I've always wanted to write, but I've been too afraid to start. That was the first secret I shared with him. From then on, Daniel and I grew close in ways that felt natural. We'd spend evenings on his balcony with notebooks in hand, writing side by side, sometimes in silence, sometimes laughing about small things. He encouraged me, saying my words had weight even when I doubted them. But with closeness comes vulnerability, and with vulnerability, sometimes you reveal more than you mean to. One rainy night, after weeks of these quiet writing sessions, Daniel asked me to share something I had never told anyone. I hesitated. Secrets are tricky things. They feel safe inside, but the moment you let them out, they can reshape how people see you. I told him about my past relationship with Ryan, not just the breakup, but the loneliness I had felt while still with him. I confessed how I had sometimes stayed up late, writing letters I never sent, imagining conversations with someone who truly understood me. Daniel listened carefully, his eyes steady, not judging. "You were playing with secrets," he said gently, "like creating a world you wished existed." His words struck me, because they were true. Over time, I grew more comfortable sharing pieces of myself, dreams I'd hidden, mistakes I regretted, choices that weighed on me. But one evening, things shifted. I had written a short story, inspired by my own regrets, about a woman who leaves behind someone she truly loves because she is afraid of commitment. The story was raw and honest, and when Daniel read it, he looked at me differently. "This feels personal," he said softly. I panicked. "It's just fiction." But he didn't believe me. He saw through the layers. "Emily, are you afraid you'll push people away who matter?" I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I already had. From that day, something changed between us. Daniel became more cautious, more careful with his words, as though he didn't want to push me into revealing more than I was ready to. And I, in turn, became self-conscious. Every time I picked up my pen, I wondered if he was searching for pieces of me in the words. Then came the moment that would redefine everything. It was late December, just before Christmas. The building was decorated with lights, neighbors carrying gifts and warm smiles. Daniel invited me over to exchange small presents. I gave him a leather journal, and he gave me a framed quote that read, "The truth does not change according to our ability to stomach it." We sat on the couch, talking about the year that was ending, when Daniel suddenly said, "Emily, there's something I need to tell you." I froze. For weeks, I had carried another secret, one I hadn't told him. Somewhere along the line, I had begun to feel something deeper for him, but I was afraid. Afraid because of my fresh breakup, afraid of complicating our friendship, afraid of losing the one person who had truly seen me. But before I could speak, Daniel admitted his own secret. "I've grown to care about you." More than a neighbor, more than a friend. But I don't want to ruin what we have by saying it. My heart raced. I had wanted to hear those words, and yet the timing terrified me. So instead of honesty, I chose fear. I said, "Daniel, I think we should just stay friends." His expression shifted, just slightly, but enough to cut through me. He nodded politely, though his eyes held quiet disappointment. That night, after I returned to my apartment, I cried. Because the truth was, I had lied. Weeks passed, and our closeness faded. The balcony evening stopped. Our conversations grew shorter. He still smiled, still said hello, but the warmth had dulled. I realized too late that I had let fear dictate my choice. I had played with secrets too long, and when honesty mattered most, I kept it hidden. Months later, Daniel finished his book. At the launch event, surrounded by readers and fellow writers, he signed my copy with a note. Some stories are meant to be told, others are meant to be lived. Thank you for being part of mine. I walked home that night with the book pressed to my chest, tears in my eyes. My regret wasn't that I had loved him. It was that I hadn't been brave enough to say it when it mattered. And so, this is my story. A story of desire for connection, for honesty, and regret, for letting fear stand in the way. If there's one lesson I carry, it's this: secrets may feel safe, but the truth spoken at the right time has the power to change everything. I still live in Seattle. I still write every day, filling pages with truths I once hid. And though Daniel and I never became more than what we were, his presence taught me something invaluable. That love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes it's about learning the cost of silence and the courage to never let it happen again.